Okay guys, take a breath. Andrew, can I borrow your body for a second? So now we're going to look just at knighting the front shoulder, right? Could be a jab, usually it's going to be jabs, could be a cross. So obviously we want to move out of the way. So if that's coming in, we just don't want to do this. Simple enough. So right now I'm going to only be tapping your shoulder to make your life easier. You know what's coming there. So let's just look at it very simply. So he's got his evasion, sees it coming, he's got his evasion. How many different ways, if we were to categorize all the options, we could obviously not use hands at all, and we could just escape, right? Just slip, that's all. But if we were to slip, how many different ways could we complement the lead slip with our hands? What can we do? Yeah. So as I slip, I could just have a high front, right? Exactly. So let's see. That's it. That's all, right? It doesn't matter. It's not a block. It's just, it's a there in case because this is probably coming after. So I can slip without. I can high frame. What else can I do?
Parry.
How would I parry?
Other hand.
Backhand can do a jab catch, right? So if I slip a little bit sooner, the right hand can pop in, I can tap. And it doesn't have to be a big motion. If he's coming in from my shoulder, I can slip, I can block, I can parry over here, and I don't even need to touch. Sometimes it's just a counterbalance, right? Just like that. It's up just in case to make sure it doesn't migrate over my face. So I have evasion. I can check it up with my same hand, my frame. I can slip. What else could I do?
Set up a drop bait counter?
Yep, so I can spike, right? So if it's coming up like, bang, I can come up here, a high shield, spiking either horizontally, vertically. And then finally we have the ramp, right? What does the ramp depend on? If I'm here, for me to get this kind, go right from the shoulder, for me to get this kind of a deflection, what do I need to have?
Timing.
More than that.
Rotation.
Would I use, if he's giving me a jab, boom, jab. Yeah, he's giving me a jab, right? So let's say he gives me a fast jab, I got to catch here, right? So look at the distance I'm at. Would I use a catch at this distance? Could I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could I? Give me a fast one. Could I use it at that distance? Boxers do it all the time. Would I use a ramp at this distance?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? It's getting close. So it's kind of like the inverse of elbows. If we think of punching is a far away tool. Elbows is a mid-range to close range tool. But when I start using elbows for deflection, I don't use them close. I don't try. It's not a strike per se. It's really, if it's going to be perceived as a strike, it's a strike against the hand, right? So I don't want to be at this range because the likelihood is that even though I deviated, he's still going to power through. If he was giving me a hook to the face and I ramped, I'm going to bite that hook full power. If I'm at this distance, he's giving me a hook, boom, I lean back, maybe I get a pivot. Yes, I need a timing, I need all that, but I have to do it at the right distance. So the only time that I'm going to really get away with that kind of an action, the only time you'll see a Mayweather with the hand here is when he's already kind of far away. Does that make sense? Anything where he can touch me, then I start to look at this and checks and leading into the elbow and instructions or goods and scissors and whatever else. Does that make sense? What allows me to facilitate keeping him away at that wedging, ramping distance? How do I keep him away, aside from hitting? You got to move. And what about my positioning? What kind of positioning do I need to convince him, to confuse him into staying too far? Think about it. If I'm standing like this, am I doing anything to discourage entry?
No.
No. If I stand like this, is it a little bit more of a fence?
Yes.
If I'm standing like this, is that encouraging entry?
No. No.
Think about it. What is he fixating on right now?
Face.
Drill on the head, yeah? Anytime you see somebody that is really good at evasion, that's doing that kind of motion and baiting with the head, it's very rarely from a narrow base. Right? It's normally going to be like that. Why? It's because when you go here, their true position is here. Your resting position, their default position, needs to be out of range. If I'm standing like this, my default position is right at the end of the knuckle power. So it doesn't matter if I bait here, when I snap back, I'm still getting hit. And if he goes through with a little bit more power, he's driving through. But if I was standing here, he thinks I'm close, so when I put the head in, I have all this capacity to go well past my center of mass, center of gravity, right? This is what I want. So the only time you'll see guys doing these massive motions with the head is usually when they have massive base. There's very few evasive boxers that have good evasive head motion without a wider base. Exceptions being guys like Nicolino Luce. If you look at Nicolino Luce, he was a Spanish boxer. He had a very narrow base, but he also had very narrow evasions. He would evade like that. which is no counter game, annoying like hell, and he had wispy kind of 1970s hair, so people would be hitting it, and they're fixating on the bangs, and he'd doing this. It's fantastic to watch. One drink, you watch that, you're like, every time I expect it to end differently. It never does. It's incredible. But that's the exception. But your radius, your circumference of your rotation is directly proportionate to your base. It's very hard that, if I have a wide base, I have the choice to be small, but if I have a narrow base, I don't really have a choice to move large. You see, you got a guy fighting like this, he's gonna be out of balance. Does that make sense? So usually, I just want to see that I'm kind of at that range where he can hit me, but I can easily slip out, replace it with elbows, replace it with a shoulder. So give me a fast jab, boom, I can check it, I can shield it, I can spike it up like this, I can do whatever I want. If I start to get into ramps, I need to now have more distance. Otherwise, it's not going to be possible. You're going to get hit. So for a static drill, the only thing I would suggest you stay away from is ramps, because we're not really dancing around too much. Simple enough? So slip, check, brace up with a high frame, shield, wash the scalp, whatever it is you wish to do. Easy breezy, but instead of against the jab, it's against the noodle. So this is what we're going to do. Two flips, right? Off the noodle relay team. I'm only going to be hitting you on this side. And you can just escape, you can use your hands however you wish. There's no danger. So this is your experimentation phase. There's not a lot of variety. Timing might change a little bit. And I'm aiming for your shoulder, not your head, because we're going back to a learning phase. Simple enough? That's all I want to see for this phase. Joyce!